I don't know what for. Also, in the
Kind of.
backgrounds of the drawings is also the classes that they're playing for the game. So that's also a little cool tidbit. And again, shout out to the artist that's been helping us put out all these cool drawings for you guys.
Yeah, I think those drawings are actually pretty accurate. Like Reels is not that kind of a guy, I guess.
Yeah,
But
he's
with
trying to
his
fight with hearts on his shirt. I don't think he's necessarily representing himself accurately with this kind of paraphernalia.
Yeah, and I also think like I never seen RDU in a hoodie. He's mostly running a shirtless shirt, like a
A
sleeveless
shirtless
shirtless
shirt?
shirt. It's not. It's
What?
like sleeveless. It's like
Yeah,
weird.
a sleeveless shirt. I know. Just a shirtless shirt is next level clothing brand. I don't
Kind
know.
of BM.
Definitely for the bros out there. Mulligans have started for Reels and RDU. A great opening hand for RDU. It gives you removal, it gives you ability to draw and board control. Even the cool Taskmaster both has versatile
And a
options to
coin.
take out, and the coin. Although in the control matchup, do you really want the coin compared to being able to go first and have an extra mana?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like personally, I always like to have a coin because coin gives me a possibility. Like for starters, my opponent doesn't have a coin, so I can expect the plays every turn because I know what kind of plays they can do on every mana crystal that they have. If they have a coin, they can kind of like cheat in one of the plays earlier to play like a 5-drop on turn 4. So I don't like my opponent having coin. And myself having a coin, I will be able to make that play myself. Like play, as we can see, RDU here has a Black Knight, so maybe Black Knight turn 5 into Sludge Belcher instead of my opponent playing turn 5 Black Knight into my Sludge Belcher. So I definitely favor the coin here.
Okay. Well, I think it does come down to preference and whatnot. You ask some players, if you go first, it's like having coin every turn, right? So you get to play out your threats over the course of every single turn a little
Yeah,
bit fast.
definitely. It's mostly about preference. Yeah, you're right. Because it's kind of like what kinds of play do you want to make? Do you want to make tempo plays or do you just feel like having those secret plays? I like personally I like the coin, but I do agree that some of the players they favor coin or favor not having the coin in different matchups.
RDU is going to take this really slow, by the way. Not use his coin unnecessarily, putting out an Acolyte and getting too antsy and excited. He's going to take it so that way Acolyte can almost get immediate value. If you have something with the Taskmaster, then you're almost certain to draw 2 cards, which is very important in this early game stage. Warrior versus Paladin also can get a little bit out of control for the same reasons as Shaman versus Warrior, where Shaman keeps toteming up and filling up the board creatures, and Warrior might have to expend a lot of its resources getting rid of it. Even though there are things like whirlwinds, eventually they run out of them, and Warrior might have to use other resources that they don't want to use.
What is this matchup really about? Because again, we have a control, kind of like control versus control, where you play those minions, but they do some damage, but then you armor up or heal, and you kind of go into the exhaustion phase again, where people just get the fatigue damage. So you exhaust the removal, you kind of fight for the board position, but both decks they have enough removal to actually deal with the board, and then you basically face your opponent in the fatigue game with the like last points of damage. So
I think that applies more to Paladin than to Warrior. Warrior does have a very clear-cut plan where they use things like Alex Straza and Gromosh to finish the game. So as much as they are controlling the board, eventually they become the aggressor at some point in the late game. Versus Paladin, they do have big threats with Tyrion, but that's often not the game closer. So it does often go to fatigue or making the opponents run out of damage. And by the way, great clear here to draw a card off Acolyte. Again, while you were patient with the Acolyte, you kept the coin. You kind of traded in your Fiery War Axes, but everything worked out in the end for RDU.
what do you feel about LOL Fab on turn 5? Just YOLO Fab?
I
It's
don't
weird.
know. I don't know about dropping Lotheb on turn 5, but what else are you going to do? Are you going to hero power into the Acolyte? I mean, Rios has done plays like that to try to play into fatigue late stages of the game, but that might be a little bit too meta considering that Control Warrior is much more aggressive by nature than a Control Priest.
Yeah, I agree that you have to play Lothep here, being the card. You're kind of forced. Like you probably would just want to keep Lothep for the key turn, but then just shutting your opponent for one turn and having a solid 5/5 on board is just too good to pass. Like as opposed to not doing anything.
Unstable Ghoul. Oh man, it's Unstable Ghoul. I've been calling it Undead Ghoul. My apologies. Unstable Ghoul is another card that's been seeing a lot of play in the Warrior because it replaces a Whirlwind, but it also synergizes with lots of the things Whirlwind can do while putting out effectively a 2/3 minion on the board. So a nice pickup here for RDU where he can play it slow without having to overextend and use resources like Slam into like a cool Taskmaster trade.
This Acolyte of Pain is so annoying, by the way. It's like there's being Realz. What can you do? What can you really do? It's like if you kill Unstable Ghoul, you net him a card, and then when you kill the Acolyte, you net him another card. Using Equality here is just out of the question, I think. It's just it will obviously clear the board, but then you just play that Lothep for something, right? You just want to deal some damage with it, and just using it to clear 1/3 minions is just too wasteful.
I think at this stage, if Acolyte's drawing cards, you just let him draw cards. And Control Paladin is usually one of the best. I mean, I'm trying to think if maybe Ramp Druid outscales it late game, and probably it does if it's like a pure Ramp Druid. But late game Paladin is often unmatched in power. So if you just make sure that you're in a good, healthy card count, as much as you want to deny him draw, a lot of times if you can just kind of continue to do your game, I don't think he's going to be in a bad position. I don't think you should attack this Acolyte whatsoever. Just let him draw into it.
Oh yeah, definitely. But on the other hand, you just gave your opponent so many cards. He's just drawing so many removal cards here. So and on your side, you don't have a good follow-up. Like you just played your mid-range creatures. You probably want to keep Harrison Jones for a weapon, and then are just going to play those equalities. And those small minions just spawn the board in here, and you probably don't want to use equality on cards like a Taskmaster.
No way. I completely understand what you're saying. I think Realz just use the opportunity to seize tempo when he can. Cards like Gnomish Inventor is a good pickup.
Nice pickup.
I think so. You have things like Harrison Jones to swing tempo back in your favor anyways, and be able to seize the board, force things like Brawl, and then be able to truly build up the board.
I guess you just ignore the 2/2 here. I mean, definitely play the Inventor to get a card. Probably Hero Power and Attack for 4 to just chip in the armor and life. Because as long as Warrior can actually armor up and use shield blocks to get some health back, Paladin still has a lot more healing potential.
See what Realz draws off of this Gnomish Inventor. I don't think any other play was good.
Harvest Golem here.
Harvest Golem is excellent.
Is he thinking about equality?
No, he's not. He's thinking about following turns. What can his opponent do in his next few turns? He can Gore Howl. Is it wise to leave up the Cruel Taskmaster? Equality is it's one of those things where you don't use it there on just a Taskmaster. Absolutely.
Do you think that he's also playing mind games against RDU? Just because RDU is also a very perceptive player. So being Realz, if you just hover over a card that's useless, but you're kind of like giving a signal that, hey, this is a card I'm thinking to play. It's it's just mind gaming your opponent to thinking that you might have something that's tough for them, even though you have a really bad hand.
Yeah, maybe he's holding on to a card that he knows his opponent likely has a counter to, like something like with Taunt, right? Maybe he feels like he's holding something like Sunwalker, and then that might bait RDU's like, well, maybe I hold on to Black Knight longer than I have to. I don't know. These are all the kinds of mind games where you ask the player after the series, and then they're like, well, I actually didn't pay attention to it, but just in case he does pay attention to this, I'm just doing it to mess with him a little bit. So people do
definitely. That. This is a high-level game anyway. This is a very high-level matchup against one of the best players in the world.
By the way, Paladin is one of the best classes to deal with something like Spectre Knight because of the battle cries of Aldor Peacekeeper.
So
there's usually no good way to deal with it unless you have a weapon or existing minions to trade through buffs and attacks. But Aldor Peacekeeper is one of these rare cases where you can deal with this mid-range creature very effectively. And the worst part is, you can't really silence your own Spectre Knight, so that way it becomes valuable again. So it's just a 1/6 sitting duck most of the time.
Unless you have a Wailing Soul, which is coming next week again. And this actually turned the Spectre Knight into a real pacifist. A pacifist Spectre Knight.
Yep.
Kind of.
A spectral peacekeeper. That's basically what he's gotten into. Now, RDU has a lot of tools at his disposal, but he's going to start things off again, playing it slow. And he wants to draw into things like Brawl, so that way he can continue to get good removal options. Not going to rush into it. It's not a board for something like Ragnaros. It's interesting he's going for a Shield Slam immediately, but he doesn't want his way for his Armor Smith to die easily. It makes complete sense.
I think like RDU is still in a very good position here. He has like 29 points of health effectively with armor. He has minions which are hard to remove, and he has a follow-up with those big creatures like Ragnaros, Alexstrasza, and Grommash. So it seems like for RDU, there's a really clear path to winning this game, exactly as you said. And being Realz, what do you do to win? It's like, do you clear? Do you deal damage? What's your plan to win the game? It's like, personally, I don't play Paladin that much because it's so confusing and so counterintuitive compared to other decks like Hunter and aggro decks. But it works, apparently. It's like he's playing the Paladin, he's winning the games with it. And it's a pretty good deck as well.
Wait, didn't you play Paladin in WEC, or is that all of the rest of Cloud9?
All of the rest of Cloud9.
Okay, so you didn't play Paladin. Okay. I was like, I swear I saw all of Cloud9 playing it, but if you're saying that, it makes sense. Okay. By the way, using heal is also one of these situations where you know Alexstrasza is going to be coming out, and you want to be able to rebound while being able to deal damage. So say Alexstrasza comes out, then he drops a quality, and then Guardian of Kings, rather than weakening his board by playing Guardian Kings now, over heal, and then still be at 15. It's a tough decision for Realz, but he has to kind of eventually build the board and dedicate himself. He's going to opt to draw cards instead, and I think this is the better play with what his opponent has.
I agree. I think both plays were kind of fine, but on the other hand, if you would drop Guardian and then next turn Alexstrasza drops, you will probably have to use the heal anyway and draw the cards and use equality, turning your Guardian into a 5/1. So using those cards in this order, he gets more cards, he stabilizes his hand, and also he still has a follow-up if Alexstrasza is being dropped with a Guardian healing a lot and equality being played before the Guardian's entering the game.
Oh, Harrison Jones just got a phone call.
He's coming.
RDU just sent him a text message saying, I got something for you.
In the museum. There is a pickup.
Oh man, this is such a big tempo swing. And Harrison Jones has been one of the sleeper MVP cards of this entire tournament so far, being able to... I mean, that is so big, because what happens is Alexstrasza sets up an opportunity to do a 2-turn kill with something like a Gorehowl, but now that is out of the question, not to mention that the board has started to build back against the Warrior deck, so as much as RDU had a clear win condition, he's going to have to go back to the drawing board.
And this is the strength of the Paladin. He's topped up his health, and now RDU is going for Alexstrasza, but Realz is just ready for it. But you probably don't use equality here. You don't
need to.
You can just humility. Like Alexstrasza having so much humility.
And again, Realz in the back of his mind, kind of wondering, well, how do I do this without overextending into something like Brawl? Guardian of Kings is playing into that, but the board is pretty strong if you do so.
You probably can Tyrion here. Because at least you will get a token, you might get a weapon. I mean, Tyrion is kind of weird because you play Tyrion and then Alexstrasza will be able to just pop the shield. But on the other hand, it's a 6/6, and if there is a brawl coming, you will still get the weapon. And right now we are staring at 6, 8, 24. Wait, 14, like 18 points of damage. So RDU is getting pretty low.
Yep, and you know, the True Silver sets up lethal anyways. Just look at that burst, but it's also because of the setup that the Warrior has allowed, and now RDU is potentially on his last turn. He needs something big in order to control the damage at the moment.
And he doesn't get a brawl, and he has no way to actually throw into it.
Well, the good news is that Realz only has 4 damage with the weapon, so if he goes for a board clear, RDU will be able to survive, and I think...
Can he actually clear the board in here?
I don't know if he can, but he does have the coin, and he could put out Loteb, but I think he's still dead anyways.
I think that's it.
Yep. And
That's
unfortunately,
7-8.
RDU has run out. Realz will take the first game in the series, outlasting the Warrior, and being able to play his cards very intelligently to make sure to time it to disrupt the Warrior's plan.
I just can't wrap my head around.
Player, then they like Paladin.
Oh, yeah, I totally understand that. And now RDU will have to face this Paladin again, and he will be equipping his Miracle Rogue. And his Miracle Rogue is basically a standard Miracle Rogue. He has Assassin's Blade, same as Reynad, and same as Sixo. We've seen him playing versus Sixo, his Miracle Rogue, and he gets the Gadgetzan in the opening hand, but he doesn't get a coin. Where Realz gets the coin, Pyromancer and Equality, which is... Pyromancer and Equality is a pretty good clear versus Gadgetzan Auctioneer being concealed.
Yeah, that's your best way to deal with it. Beforehand, you have to get really lucky. Otherwise, if he puts out Gadgetzan and you have Equality Consecration, but even then, Wild Pyro Equality allows you to squeeze in something else to do during that turn. Very important to keep that. And Realz recognizes it's most likely not kind of aggro rogue. That's been falling out of the meta. The Coldlight Oracle backspace, aggressive, turn 7 kill hasn't been played in a while. So I think Realz can recognize I'm going to be playing against Miracle Rogue.
Isn't this matchup just terrible for Miracle Rogue? It's like Miracle Rogue has a certain amount of damage that you want to deal to your opponent, and you have those. You really count that a Gadgetzan can be concealed, and Paladin can deal with everything. He can clear your Gadgetzan Auctioneer that is concealed. Even if you deal a lot of damage, Paladin can eventually heal. Paladin has those cards like Aldor Peacekeeper and Humility to keep your minions down. Like, even if you play a big Edwin, there are so many ways to deal with it. And Paladin has taunts as well. So, and he has a lot of them. I mean, here he has the Sludge Belcher, he has Defender Vargas, even Harrison Jones to counter your Assassin Blade, and he has it in hand right now. Looks sick for Realz.
I think with this kind of hand from Realz, it's a good counter, but if you have a slow one, then Paladin still can be subject to the very reason why they lose all the time in the past to Miracle Rogue, which is they play too slow. Because you're forgetting about cards like the Azure Drakes and the Gnomish Inventors and the Farseers that just continue to rack in damage. And if you only can answer one at a time, you still are pushing out 9 to 10 points of damage, which is still enough. If Paladin's at 20, Miracle Rogue can still burst on turn 8 if there's nothing there. So don't underestimate Miracle Rogue, Nimj. I think RDU, he understands his matchup pretty well because he's practiced it a ton, and I wouldn't expect him to be able to come in this unprepared.
Still, my money is in Realz this game. He has a lot of advantage here with the cards he actually got. Also, RDU doesn't have the cards that we talked about. He doesn't have the free mana. He doesn't have the SI7. He doesn't have Farseer. No Edwin as well. He got the Leroy, which is pretty cool with Shadow Step, but he will have to ramp up some damage before he unleashes the Leroy. And Realz, well, he just continues to reinforce.
I mean, it's the smart thing to do. You bring up an excellent point where the win conditions of RDU are going to be completely shut down. Something like Gadgetzan draws or Assassin's Blade. And Assassin's Blade with Deadly Poison is just so much damage, but unfortunately getting shut down by Harrison Jones is really tough. Now, RDU does know that Realz runs Harrison Jones, so maybe that makes him a little hesitant to play.
But being RDU, would you just consider your Assassin's Blade being a blank? Like, it's so tough.
I don't think you can with that hand. Yeah, I don't think you can with that hand. And the longer you wait for Harrison, the likelier he is to draw it. So you might feel like you have to get immediate value.
It's so sad because it seems like with this hand, you have to make an assumption, hey, I know there is Harrison Jones somewhere, but I can't win without playing this Assassin Blade. And then you do play it, you face Harrison, and you feel so helpless without like any way to win the game.
And this is something you don't regularly see. Miracle Rogue getting pressured by the Paladin. RDU picks up
Azure Drake,
the Azure Drake, which is very nice to do. You know, Azure Drake is so important. Cycle through, get the ability to draw. If he picks up something like Backstab off of that, that is another really big draw. Ooh, RDU is hovering over Assassin's Blade because it's tempting to try to go for the board clear immediately. But the Azure Drake is the right choice.
Yeah,
and he gets a backstab.
Oh God,
that top deck
huge.
is so huge.
He can clear the board in here. Azurog is so important, by the way, because normally you won't play Gadgetzan on turn 5. You want to play Gadgetzan and Conceal on turn 6. So you want to play something on turn 5. and there is nothing. Like basically, our weapon up and SI7. Like he doesn't even have the SI7. That's why Azure Drake is a big card to have on board. But still, how
This
do you
might be
follow up?
even more painful. RDU might feel tempted to play a deadly poison. Okay. You know, I
Being
first thought
Realz-
I thought maybe he actually was going to use a deadly poison on the Assassin's Blade, but it makes sense. And if Reels used something like Harrison Jones on this, and then he can play his Assassin's Blade. Very intelligent play from RDU using information he did in the previous game.
But Reels probably knows that the Assassin's Blade is there, and right now playing Harrison Jones is kind of weird because, well, he's going. Is he going for it?
Does he know? Does he know there's Assassin's Blade? There's no guarantee. I mean, the Harrison Jones comes out, but RDU, that's what he was waiting for, and that's going to activate one of his potential win conditions, and he'll be happy to see that. Oh,
Really
but
smart
then
play from RDU. Sap the Harrison Jones.
yeah, don't sap the Harrison Jones. I was like, how does he deal with this Harrison Jones? I guess he just attacked straight into it. And, you know, Reels realizes he should have saved Harrison Jones, but unfortunately he didn't have the intel that RDU was holding the Assassin's Blade.
Yeah, I really admire RU for that play. It's like you bait out Harrison Jones and then follow up with Assassin's Blade, and now he can use it to his advantage,
Yep.
ramp up the damage.
Well, guess what? Leroy Double Shadow Step is in hand. Top
Gets
deck
a preparation.
preparation.
Do you blind preparation here?
You have 2 gadgets hands. You don't need to do it. You don't need to
True.
do it. You can take your time. Paladin does have a lot of taunts, though. But the problem is, they only have such a short amount of mana. As much as they have 8, they can't squeeze everything they want. So RDU's going to play it patiently. Hopefully, he pays out something like even True Silver Champion. But he also recognizes that if he doesn't go all in, he still can just win next turn if his opponent doesn't put up a taunt. He
RU
has 18 damage from the hand.
potentially 21 damage if Gadgetzan is dead. So Reels has to clear the Gadgetzan and play a taunt at least. And then if RU gets something that he can use, you can use with tandem with preparation, that would be devastating. Because what do you do now? Do you just play the Sludge Belcher and pass? And if RU gets a
Sap.
sap,
Number 2, which based off the top decks that RDU's been getting, wouldn't surprise me. Well, Gadget Stand Auctioneer allows him to start chain draws once more. Nice. That is actually really good that you had the SI7 agent to snipe the rest of this taunt.
he fills out the board. He still has the 5-1 Assassin's Blade and potential 18 damage with Leer in hand. This looks pretty bad for Reels.
Now I'm wondering why he didn't use preparation, because he does use his second Gadget Stand. And you have 10 mana, so most likely you'll be able to play whatever spell comes out the following turn. This is a very curious hold or restraint that RDU is showing, because I would figure that the preparation is able to cycle, but maybe RDU knows that he wants to use preparation for something else. I'm not sure.
Wait, isn't it? How much health does he have? 25?
No, wait, he has
25,
23
okay.
damage.
So he was 2 damage of lethal. Kind
2
of.
damage. All right, RDU playing
showing
pace.
restraint again. He's not
Nice.
playing second farce here. Interesting.
Well, because this damage is more than enough to cover for the lethal next turn, so he doesn't want to overextend, but at the same time put enough pressure and recognize that if he has something like True Silver, he still ends the game.
23 points of damage just out of nowhere. This is insane. Even if
Real-
if the small gnomish inventor is alive after this turn, that's it.
Well, now RDU has to get Blade Flurry with double taunts. Yeah,
Backstab
kids
is still nice, I guess.
Let's see. He can't push through. The 4 health is just out of range. That is very annoying. But Paladin's running out of cards, even though he does have a lot of ways to heal.
Yeah, he has Lay on Hands, which will be pretty good.
All right, well, back over to Reels, who can go up to full health and start controlling the board. It's like you mentioned, Nimsh, if you keep getting these really big minions and heals.
Oh my
Speaking of
god,
big minions, Tyrion forward ring has arrived.
And once sap is out, can Ryu get a sap? His hand doesn't look that good right now.
That was an important top deck for Realz to stay in this
Oh
game.
my god, he
Second
gets a sap.
is
that it?
22 damage.
Oh my god, he's 3 damage of lethal. And he can't use the sap right now, but this sap is super important because he will be able to set up the lethal next turn, I guess. Or not really, because the Realz will be healing using Lay on Hands.
Yeah, he has to pass. This sap, he can't use it now just to squeeze in damage greedily. But he also knows that he's going to be limited because you're just like you mentioned, there is a limited amount of damage Miracle Road can do if you just kind of put yourself out of range. Realz is going to use this opportunity to build the board and strike back and potentially end the game too. Depends on how the next couple of turns pan out.
This is so sick, Frodon. He was almost there. He was like 2 damage off lethal. He had the combos. No Blade Flurry, but this is too late. Even with the Mind
Flurry was 2 cards too late.
What do you even do? Like, you just pass.
He waits.
I guess now you use Lay on Hands. Or can you just win? Wait, did you win here?
No, he doesn't have enough damage. He's got 11 on board plus the 2 on the Consecration, so it's 3 damage. I would definitely think Lay on Hands here is important. You want to heal yourself up as much as possible, not to mention you draw into other ways to potentially end the game in the next turn if your opponent
Lay on Hands in here. Like, how is Ro going to kill you? You're like 30 health, you have a taunt. Like, even if there is a sap, like, there is no possibility to deal 30 points of damage from the empty board with 10 points of mana using sap, so it's like 8 points of mana. RDU is going down this game.
Uh-oh, low tab coming in a little bit too late. RDU needed these minions much earlier to put on pressure, and he's going to concede. Realz takes down the Miracle Road with Paladin and starts the series off 2-0 with a class a month ago everyone said was unplayable in his hand as he was unable to do anything with it. Unfortunate that RDU is already down 0-2 if you're a fan of his play, but he is not out of it yet. He has a Shaman deck which can match up against Paladin. I would say this is pretty even, depends on how the things go, but the later the game progresses, the more favored I feel like Paladin is.
Also, the Shaman list that RDU is running is pretty standard. He has Lava Burst, which might be important for an extra push of damage. He is running Lothep, but other than that, he's a standard list with Doomhammer, Alakir, both the Rattle Spiders. And he's getting a coin this time.
You're just a fan of the coin no matter what, huh?
Yeah, I love it. It's so good. You can play Leper Gnome and coin into a Leper Gnome. Best play ever.
I can't argue with that logic, I guess.
Right?
Well, you can coin into 2 web spinners, put our favorite cards to the test.
Exactly. You'll be a fan of the coin as well. You'll see.
That's funny. All right, well, Realz, he has cards to kind of build the board, but he's going to be waiting for a long time, most likely hero powering for the first few turns of this game.
I feel like having Pyromancer here is so important. Where versus Miracle Rogue, it was kind of like a gimmicky card that you wanted to clear the Auctioneer. Here versus Shaman, if Shaman overextends and he puts like 4 minions on the board, you will be able to clear effectively with Pyromancer. He also gets the equality, which is pretty good. On the other hand, RDU has all the small minions. Does he? Yeah, he has like Haunted Creeper on turn 2, which is pretty great. Also, a very good card to actually trade with those small 1/1 dudes. He has Unbound Elemental. He has a follow-up of Defender of Argus, so his hand looks pretty nice. He can even coin Azure Drake on turn 4 if he wants to.
Which most likely will be the play once True Silver gets pushed out, or even maybe not. If you see True Silver being pushed out, maybe not want to lose to Drake for free.
Did he just top deck this True Silver, or did he have it?
He had it. He had it.
He had it, okay.
It was, I think, the second or third card he drew.
This is one of the best counters, by the way, to the Unbound Elemental play on free.
Yeah, I was thinking about coin into the Drake, but I think Defender of Argus gets immediate value. You force the True Silver to attack, and then you play Drake. Very nice follow-up, and a great curve for RDU. He's even picked up Doomhammer, one of these cards that can be really good at cleaning up a lot of the smaller minions that has completely shored up the matchups for Paladin.
Oh man, he has so much burst potential with Doomhammer, Rock Biter, and that Lava Burst. It's so much damage coming into the way, and he had a good curve as well, so he will be an aggressor in this game. Realz is just defending.
Wow,
But if,
Alec here.
as well.
Very nice.
Nice.
You do have to be mindful, as he is going to use Earthshock here very wisely, and not give his opponent any ability to use his own Defender of Argus, a card that's seen pretty commonly in Paladin. I like the idea of being really cautious too of loading the board as Shaman, because you are aware of equality consecration combos. Those are the best ways for Paladin to answer what you have. So you have to be mindful of that if you're RDU coming to these next few turns.
I like how Paladin plays with those other Peacekeepers and stuff. It's like forcing your opponent to overextend so that you can clear with Pyromancer equality. Because if you play Alder here, you probably don't have to use Humility, but you just make those minions on opposing side of the board just not very useful. So your opponent will be like, yeah, I need more minions because I need to do some damage, and then you clear. So the strategy here is pretty nice. Like,
Completely agree. Back over to Realz. He top decks a Fire Elemental. It's pretty nice. And again, baiting out potential uses of equality while he can continue to reload with things like the Azure Drake. And then if he has things like Feral Spirits, it's another way to rebound. It feels a lot like you're fighting against a Control Warrior in the same sense. Control Warrior is just trying to stabilize the board, wait for the late stages of the game, and you're trying to make sure to play your minions in a nice spot so that way you're not overextending into Brawl. But even if you do, you have a way to rebound.
Well, right now, Realz is down to 16 points of health, and RDU has a lot of burst.
He top decks Earthshock too, which is a great way to deny these draws. Paladin's running low on cards, and Acolyte is one of the only ways that Paladin can get draws before things like Lay on Hands kick in.
On the other hand, this is the second Earthshock, and Realz has a Tyrion. But do you play Tyrion here? You haven't seen a single Hex. We know that there is no Hex in RDU's hand, but still, it's a pretty risky play. Can you do anything else? And there is a Harrison Jones. Oh my God! If RDU decides to play the Doomhammer, that can be a huge swing.
I just mentioned that Paladin doesn't have a lot of innate ways to card draw, but Harrison Jones is one of them against Doomhammer.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that.
Oh man, if he doesn't play the Tyrion here, and he probably wouldn't play, like playing Tyrion is a bad play considering the hexes. But what else are you going to do? You might have to YOLO.
You're not sitting at a good enough health to feel comfortable just dropping this Defender of Argus. Because if he has Lightning Storm, then you're toast. It's basically, what do you play around? Lightning Storm, take more damage, or Tyrion and get hexed. And he's going to take his chances because 2 Earthshocks have been used.
And no Hex. So Realz is still in the game. He still has the Holy Light to top up his health. And we are going to see the Doomhammer. Oh my God.
Whoa.
He's getting it again.
A big play is coming out, and Realz is going to slingshot back into this game. He has it, Ashbringer, and he's going to be drawing 6 cards. And he's going to be able to heal up with Holy Light, so even if his opponent has some way to burst, because Alec here would be actually game if his opponent didn't have a taunt, but I think Holy Light might have to come out here.
So many cards. This is huge. Also, RDU won't be able to play Alakir Rockbiter next turn because he's overloaded for free after playing Doomhammer.
You're right. He wasn't able to burst. Never mind. So Holy Light isn't the highest priority for Realz, but I think you still have to be really cautious.
Especially after seeing Lava Burst. You can expect your opponent to have a lot of burst in there. You still have to. Even like double of Rockbiter and Lightning Bolt, like you had to heal here. And now he has Lay on Hands.
Goodness.
Oh my God, he has everything.
Well met. Is exactly what Realz is thinking right now.
Mel wet. Kind of.
RDU is devastated. He's just hero powering passing. He had 5 mana to play with, but now he's given Realz the board. And with Shaman, when you give the board and you don't have the clear way to burst and end the game, it's over. Now RDU can still draw second Rockbiter, right? Second Rockbiter and no taunt.
That will be 18 points of damage, but being Realz
Still can
here,
end the game.
Do you heal? Yeah, you definitely play Guardian.
There it is, back up to 21. So now second Rockbiter is also out of the question to end the game. RDU is on the ropes and on the verge of being eliminated from this tournament, I believe. If Realz wins 3-0.
I believe that if Realz wins this game, and I don't think like nothing can stop him, he is set for advancing from our group with such a good score.
Well, he rolls high, and that was really important for RDU to be able to take down 2 of those minions in Harrison Jones, as well as the rest of their Realz top decks. No Inventor, but he's got lots of board clear with Consecration and pushing for damage.
Wait, can you actually win this turn with double Consecration? It's 4 damage plus 10. It's like he's 1 damage off lethal. Oh my god.
This is just a recurring theme wherever we go. Honestly.
I guess. It's not my fault that players are so often 1 damage off lethal.
And this is checkmate, though, because now with he's squeezing that 1 extra damage with Defender of Argus, even if there's board clear, there's a Consecration finish. So Realz has won this game. RDU is eliminated from this tournament. He's going for the board clear and doing what he can to stay alive, but Paladin, as much as he dropped to, what, 7 or 8 health, there's no way he can win. And RDU is going to concede before he even allows Realz